Catholic bishops are the successors of the apostles, and one of their most important duties is to teach, and to teach with authority, to hand on what they have received. We must heed what they teach. Not all bishops are gifted writers, however, and some statements drafted by committees of the U.S. Bishops' Conference cannot be read without the help of a great deal of caffeine. So I confess that when I got a copy of Bishop Baker's booklet-length pastoral letter called Formed and Sent this spring on the subject of missionary discipleship, I did not pounce on it eagerly. I put it on the coffee table, planning to read it on some very rainy day. Well, as you know, April and May were remarkably dry. But Bishop Baker and Father Deering kept talking about it and about its connection with the Eucharistic Congress in Birmingham next weekend. The letter also inspired a series of excellent talks in our parish hall on the subject of missionary discipleship by our Director of Evangelism, Joshua Henry. I finally did what I should have done months ago and read Called, Formed, and Sent. I was humbled and grateful that Bishop Baker has given us this wise teaching and planned a dynamic Eucharistic Congress to trigger what could and should be a genuine spiritual rebirth in this diocese. We should clear up one point. The term Congress was not always a political term. The original meaning was assembly, which is also the original meaning of church or ecclesia. So a Eucharistic Congress basically means a Eucharistic assembly. And what is a Catholic Mass? Any Catholic Mass, but a Eucharistic assembly. So in a manner of speaking, you attend a Eucharistic Congress every time you go to Mass. The event to be held in Birmingham next weekend is just a really large Mass with some extra exciting features thrown in. In focusing on missionary discipleship, the bishop is following the guidance of Pope Francis, who has emphasized that the church cannot simply maintain what she has, open the doors every Sunday, and expect people to keep on showing up. Rather, the faithful must be prepared to get off the parish property, go into the byways, and encounter a world that has become utterly indifferent to God, taking every thought captive in obedience to Christ. That doesn't mean that we can let the parish and its essential programs decline or fade or slide. On the contrary, they must be revitalized from top to bottom so that we can deliver the spiritual goods to those who accept our invitation and turn to this parish to find the path to salvation. But why do you suppose the bishop chose to promote missionary discipleship by means of a Eucharistic Congress? Why didn't he conceive and plan it as a missionary discipleship rally or as an evangelistic crusade, as some of our separated brothers have been known to do? What does missionary discipleship have to do with the Eucharist? A lot of other Christians launch ambitious programs without celebrating the Lord's Supper. Why not Catholics? Answer: because we are Catholics. How could we launch a great initiative to win Alabama for Christ and fail to invite Christ himself, body, blood, soul, and divinity, to the celebration? Furthermore, no such enterprise could possibly succeed without a great outpouring of grace. And where do we Catholics go to be filled with grace? To the sacraments, and especially to the Eucharist. If you're driving in a great race at Talladega or elsewhere, you must keep an eye on the fuel gauge. Even if you've led every lap of that race, you won't win if you run out of gas with a lap to go. St. Paul tells us if you're running a race, run so as to win. If we're going to win the race, if we are even going to start to restore a Christian culture in Tuscaloosa, in Alabama, and across this baffled and bewildered country, we will need a Eucharistic pit stop. And once we have filled the tank, we should come roaring out of pit row. It is surely not a coincidence that Corpus Christi Day, the solemnity of the most holy body and blood of Christ, falls just 5 days before the Eucharistic Congress. When Bishop Baker started planning this event more than a year ago, he had a liturgical calendar in front of him. He knew that there is such a thing as momentum of the Spirit, just as there is momentum of the body, that we must make a spiritual running start if we want to achieve a great spiritual leap. Corpus Christi Day is the perfect starting gun. As we prepare for the Eucharistic Congress next weekend, we should begin to accelerate right now. At this Mass, the table of divine grace is about to be set before our eyes. Let us pray up, adore up, offer up, and fuel up, and be ready to come out of pit row with the pedal to the metal.